Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. I trust them. I want you to trust them too. And take the next 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be very glad you did. Here we go. We'd like to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to show off your school record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to tell your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We also want to thank Gipper. You know, your student athletes are on social media, so are their parents. And if they're not seeing content to acknowledge their performances and promote your program, guess what? You're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. They're going to show you how to create world-class content in seconds, and it's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our kids loved the videos, and of course, our parents loved the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Definitely the best purchase I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Get started today. We want to thank Hometown Ticketing. Hometown's the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We want to say thanks to the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. This is an affordable 20-month, totally online program that also allows you to complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses. You're also going to be part of a nationwide network in athletic administration. To get started, all you have to do is go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters. We want to say thank you to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day for things like scheduling, uploading scores and rosters. How about student athlete eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Go to homecampus.com. Whether it's a state association or just you as a high school AD, you're going to use Home Campus every single day. That's homecampus.com. We'd like to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You know, athletic directors already get feedback, but it's usually from a small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And that data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're meeting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. It's athleticsurveys.com. And we want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Raise. If you have ever been frustrated with a fundraiser, stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online platform out there. We used it at our school with incredible success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. I'm telling you, it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the Educational AD Podcast. We have a lot of sponsors, but we also have a couple of partners of the podcast, and one of our partners is WeCOACH WeCOACH. If you're new to the podcast, when we're done, you need to go to the WeCOACH website. You're going to hear a lot about the services and resources for them. And with us today is the manager of leadership and strategic relationships, Lizzy Ristano. Lizzy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, you and I were talking before we got started. Lizzy has a tremendous background in sports, but now she's, pretty much devoting her skills to WeCoach. We're going to get to that later in the podcast. But Lizzy, we always like to start out letting our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own high school days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Lizzy Ristano origin story?
Well, I was born on the right side of the country. So I was born actually in Toledo, Ohio, in the Midwest. And only at 3 months old, that my family moved to Massachusetts. So I grew up the first 5 years of my life in Massachusetts. And at that point, my dad's job had just bumped around a little, and that led him to a job actually all the way out in California. So at 5 years old, we moved all the way out to the left coast, and I grew up in Irvine, California, which is in Orange County, Southern California, and from first grade on. And it was just a great place to grow up. I kind of grew up in a town where it was kind of like any town USA. The kids, we went out on the street, we played all day. We played sports from sundown to sunup. That's really where I like attribute much of my athletic career, was growing up on that street and just playing anything from basketball to baseball to hockey, roller hockey, all different sports we would make up in the street all day long. And it was me, just a girl on a street of all boys. And so I just had to hang with them growing up, right? And that's kind of was my environment, and that set the stage, I think, for me. And I always knew that I loved sports from a very young age. That's one thing I can remember. Just as long as I can remember, I remember loving the sport, and just playing sports in general. So I think that's something that's always had a profound impact on me, and my life. So growing up in California, my sports were softball, soccer, and swimming. And I did all of those sports all the way through high school until my college years. And my high school life was great. I went to public high school, played multiple sports in high school. Just at that point, it was just soccer and softball. So I was done with the swimming in high school. And I continued to play both at the high school level and the club level, for both sports my entire 4 years. So it was a really great experience. At a really balanced high school, we had competitive sports. We took it pretty seriously. I loved competing in high school because we would compete for the name on our chest and the logo on our chest. And that was really special. Whereas my club, my travel teams and my club teams, we were more competing, yes, for the name on our chest, but we knew we were also, that's where a lot of our exposure for maybe the next step in college was going to take place. So a lot of the competing there was more of, had a little more pressure in a different way, just in terms of wanting to get seen and get exposure and perform well under pressure. So I kind of had the tale of kind of both worlds, but a really great positive experience growing up playing sports in Southern California.
You're going to get into this later, but you had, I'll say, incredible college career as a college athlete. How did you, and you just spoke that you played soccer and softball all through high school club, and your high school team. How did you make it work when so many athletic directors and coaches and now parents, struggle with, should I play club, or, I want my kid to have a high school experience. And, there's, and not to throw club coaches under the bus, but, the stereotype is, oh, you can't play for your high school. You got to play for us year round. How did you make it work and make it so positive?
Yeah. I think you can make it work. I truly believe you can, even now, when that's been said, when that is being said all the time, that you should pick one sport and specialize early. I think you can just make it work if you just manage your schedule and you balance. And it was a lot. Like at times it was a lot. I'd go play the softball game in the morning and then scoot off, 20 minutes away and go play a soccer game in the afternoon. And then we hurry back to the softball field and finish up the day with the softball game that day. And there were times when we had to make sacrifices. There were times when maybe you had two games scheduled, different sports on the same day at the same time, and we had to pick one. And you just kind of went with like, okay, what's most important right now? Was it a championship season or not? Was it a special experience or not? What was it? And you pick one, and you just, make concessions on the other at times. But when that sport needed me most, I would always be there, and that I would prioritize in that way. So when it was like the competitive season or the championship season or the playoffs, I would commit to that sport. And maybe if it was off season for the other, then that maybe took the back seat a little bit more, and just managing schedules. And it probably really helped me in life now, just balancing the schedules and everything I do.
Oh no, the athletic directors are listening right now, or on their feet cheering, the whole multi-sport thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you an impossible question. Looking back, had you, and again, for our listeners, you're going to hear about Lizzie's athletic prowess at the college level and beyond. Had you made the choice to just play high school ball and not do travel, do you think you would have had those same opportunities, those same recruiting calls or visits that you did have that probably came through a lot of your club play?
It's interesting. I'd like to say no, but the answer is truly yes. I think I kind of laid my own path for my recruiting. Um, Most of the recruiting happened at the club level. However, my recruiting to Notre Dame was specific because I made the effort. I traveled there to go to a camp. I put myself in front of them. I kind of made myself stand out. So, and having been on the other side of it, which is really interesting, having coached in those shoes as well, we have had plenty of players. Every coach, I'm telling you, every college coach in America is looking for the kid that maybe isn't playing that travel sport, that is flying under the radar, that nobody knows about. And, is that kid you're looking for, because then you found, like, you found the diamond in the rough, you found the hidden one. So I think a lot of recruiting really does have to do with an effort on the end of the athlete and putting themselves out there and putting themselves in front of coaches. And it's hard. Like for softball, I will say, like, the seasons run at the same time, so a lot of college coaches aren't missing their own games to go watch the high school games. So that's why the club gets more exposure in the summer. Maybe if schedule shifted a little, but there's camps and clinics throughout the whole year. There's other opportunities to be seen all the time. So I do think both are possible. I do think it's absolutely possible to get seen at the high school level and not just the club level.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Travel
a
sport.
great point.
Yeah.
The athlete putting themselves out there, taking
Yeah.
charge. We're going to take a quick break. Once again, our guest today is Lizzy Ristano, longtime softball coach at a place called Notre Dame. We're going to hear about that, but also currently the manager of leadership and strategic relationships for WeCOACH. Let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Gipper for their support of the podcast. Your student athletes are on social media, and so are a lot of their parents. And if you're not posting content to celebrate their accomplishments and, let's face it, promote your own program, you're really missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. They'll have you creating world-class content in seconds, and it's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com. Start creating social media posts to promote your program. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or showcase your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to tell your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Lizzy Ristano. She is the manager of leadership and strategic relationships with WeCOACH. I'm going to get that out. That's a big title. Um, Lizzy, you shared growing up in Irvine, California. We talked a little bit about your recruiting. You ended up at Notre Dame. Take our listeners through that just a little bit, and then share, if you will. This is your chance to brag. I'm making you brag about your incredible career playing for Notre Dame.
Well, my career for Notre Dame, it's interesting. I kind of have a Rudy-like story. And there, believe it or not, there's actually people that haven't seen the movie Rudy out there now because the movie is not dated, but please go see Rudy. My great uncle played football for Newt Rockne. So, and he and his wife retired in Santa Barbara. And I mentioned I grew up in Southern California. So we would go to these family reunions growing up and they would play the fight song. And I just thought, we're in California. I thought, I don't know what this is, but I love it and I have to be a part of it. So right away, Notre Dame kind of got in my blood. And I really kind of made it my goal to want to go to Notre Dame one day. And so in 8th grade, my parents were, kind enough to send me to softball camp there. And I got to go to camp for the full week and stay in the dorms and really attach like a dream with it, with an experience. And that was really transformational for me because I got to actually see the place, be there, walk on campus and see what it's all about. And that really kind of was a core memory for me to just remember and hold with me forever. And I used that as motivation, from 8th grade going into high school to make it my goal to go play at Notre Dame. So from there out, it looked like a lot of hard work on the ball field. And lots of, putting myself in the right place to get recruited at the right time. But at the same time, writing Notre Dame, reaching out, continuing to stay in touch and try and get them to come out and see me because it's not about how much I knew them. It's did they had to get out and see me. So long story short, worlds, kind of aligned in the perfect way where I was given the opportunity. My coach, Liz Miller, she was the head coach of Notre Dame at the time. And she came out, saw me, liked what she saw, gave me the opportunity. And it was just an absolute dream to be there. I mean, Notre Dame's that kind of place that you go there and you either feel it or you don't. And I 100% felt it. So just being able to put that logo on my chest every day made me incredibly proud to go and just play at a place that was so special, of high values, and be a part of something really special. I felt so lucky every day, and I never wanted to take it for granted. It was a very special experience. And I had a great experience there.
Now, growing up in California, obviously the weather's a little bit different in South
Yeah.
Bend. How was
Yeah.
that transition? I mean, did at that point, I'm not trying to, age you, but at
Yeah.
that point, did they have an indoor facility? I mean, what was that like coming
Yeah.
from California?
It was awesome. It was so much fun at first. That first snow hit and we thought it was so much fun. It was great to be a part of. And growing up and it made me realize what a good day really is because when you grow up in Southern California and it's, 78 and sunny every day, 75 and sunny every day, when you actually have a bad weather day and then the good day comes again, you truly appreciate it. So I always joke that like it really made me appreciate a good day. And even now when there's a good day, a good weather day, we get outside, we go, we do something. But it was just something different. And then I think it made me really, probably a lot more adaptable to just go somewhere different, experience something different, practice indoors on the turf. We would play in the turf, on the full football field. We would share it, with all the other sports at the same time. So at that point, there was one turf field there. Now there's much more, there's multiple, but so your practice time slot might be 8 to 10 p.m. or 10 to midnight because you were also sharing with baseball and men's and women's lacrosse and football always got priority, and then men's and women's soccer. So we all shared these times and it just, it made you kind of resilient and adaptable because you had to just go with what was given you and you just did it. It was really a great experience.
So coming in as a freshman, were you, and I've done a little bit of research on you,
Yeah.
were you that hotshot freshman that started for 4 years? Did you have to break into the lineup? Take us on that journey.
I think if I'm being honest, I don't think they expected me to start right away, but I think I knew deep down that like I had probably starting potential. I just had to work harder than everybody else and show everybody else why I, should be on the field. Um, and I think that that's something that, just came from, again, it was like that Rudy like mentality, just going out there and giving my guts and glory and getting beat up and being the ultimate teammate and being that person that was, hey, like I'll do whatever it takes for the team and a good, kind individual to everyone on the team as well. So yeah, I put myself, I think I earned it. If I'm being honest, probably.
Well, I'm sure you
Wasn't
did.
given to me, I can
Yeah.
tell you that much.
All right. Spoiler alert for our listeners.
Mhm.
Lizzy went on to coach almost 20 years at Notre Dame. Very successful coaching career. We're going to hear about that in our next segment. Here's a question that I ask frequently. Can you think back to a moment when you're a student at Notre Dame, student athlete, that at the time it didn't seem like much, but now looking back, or then as a coach looking back, you can say, hey, that was a significant moment. Anything come to mind for you?
I think that when my senior year, we we had worked our way up. We didn't have a great year my freshman year, and we had just got better and better every single year. And by the time I was a senior, we got to the point where we were ranked in the top 10 in the nation. And I think going into the postseason, we were like 53-2. So we had 2 losses all year. And at the time I was just playing, right? Like I didn't think much of it, but I look back at that and I look at what we accomplished, and having coached at Notre Dame for so long, just the how good we were. I don't think I truly realized it. It's something I'm really proud of in the history of the program.
Now, let's go ahead and share with our listeners a little bit. As I was reading your bio, I was just like, wow, okay, this person was a hell of an athlete. Okay, probably still are, but share with our listeners some of your favorite accolades or achievements as a player for one of the top programs in the country.
Well, I gotta be honest, like I don't remember my batting average. I don't remember the number of put out or the great plays. I remember some awesome wins we had. Like I remember the team moments. I mean, my senior year I got the Big East Player of the Year. That's something that I don't think is, to your last question, I don't think I understood the magnitude of that at the time. I thought it was great. Like that was, an awesome achievement. But when I look back at that, I'm like, wow, like, now the Big East Conference, I mean, such a great and historic conference, and to be the Big East Player of the Year feels very special. But my favorite moments were just those with my team, and the little wins and the late nights and the bus rides and the plane rides and the grind and lots of travel delays. Lots when you live in bad weather. So I have to say those are really more my favorite accolades, are just the moments won with my teammates, more so than the actual awards and recognition.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised at all that you would say that, but I am glad you did mention Big East Player of the Year. I'm way older than you, and probably way older than a lot of our listeners. But for our younger listeners, Google the Big East Conference. Okay, the Big East was a very, very big deal.
Yeah.
Let's say back in the day. So Big
The
East
great
Player of the
I
Go
will
ahead.
say the greatest thing, one of the greatest things about the Big East was just going to these great cities in America. And we ate well everywhere there, because there was great Italian food in New Jersey and New York and Philly and Boston. Like, so that was one of the best parts, was the support, right? But yeah, you're right. I mean, the Big East, there's something so special about that conference. And I do think it's something that's really close to my heart. I think, and there's a 30 for 30 on it. So for
Yep.
those young listeners, go check out the Big East Conference of 30 for 30.
No, and again, I'm glad you mentioned that. I grew up, in Oregon, and even on the West Coast. I'm a Oregon Duck guy, Pac-12 guy forever, even though the Pac-12 is now the Pac-2. But
Yeah.
even back then, we knew the Big East was a big deal. Um, let's go and take a break. Again, our guest today is Lizzy Ristano. Um, she is currently working for WeCOACH, and we're going to hear about that. But after her playing days were over, she embarked on another incredible career as a coach for Notre Dame softball. So let's take that break. But we're going to hear about her coaching days. Uh, just remind you, this is the Educational ED Podcast. We want to say thank you to Huddle for their support of the podcast. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. But when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just love the tools that Huddle provided that let them coach our kids up to the highest level. Speaking of kids, our kids love the videos. Our parents love the streaming, but there's so much more to the Huddle platform. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products today. We also want to say thank you to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational ED Podcast. Lizzy, you took our listeners up through your playing days there at Notre Dame. Tremendous career, as we mentioned, Big East Player of the Year. But then you spent a long time there as a coach, an associate coach. Share with our listeners how that happened and what it was like coaching for your alma mater.
Yeah, so coaching happened maybe a little by chance or accident. It wasn't something I had planned to get into at all. I was out of college, kind of in my mind, I still wanted to be a part of college athletics. So in my mind, it was to go the administration route. And I thought, well, then I'm going to be an AD one day because again, I have this love and passion for sport and athletics and college athletics in particular. So I had gone to grad school, got my master's in sport management, went on to work a couple spots and one stop at Boston College, another. Then at the time I was working back out on the West Coast at Stanford University in development. When my coach called, she was my assistant coach at Notre Dame and had been elevated to head coach since my graduation. And she tried to get me to come take a coaching position there. And I told her right away, no way, I'm done with coaching. It's something I don't want to do. I'm on a really great track now. I'm in a great place. And she kept calling me and calling me. She had our athletic director at Notre Dame call me, and he made a really great point. It was Kevin White at the time. And he said, Lizzy, if you want to be an athletic director, one of the best things you could do is go coach. Just go coach for 5 years. And then you will experience the whole other side of it. And then you get back into administration, and then this will kind of balance your resume and make you this more complete individual if you want to be an AD. And I thought, you know what, you're right. I think I do. And in my gut, I kind of had some unfinished business at Notre Dame, and I still wanted to work to get the program elevated to the next level. So I thought, okay, I'll go coach for 5 years and I'll just be on the other side of the ball, and then I'll get right back into it. So in my mind, I was like, okay, 5 years I had mapped out. Okay, that class will be my last class, probably, then I'll get back into it. And I was coaching and I was coaching. And then every year I kept doing it. I was like, I kind of love this. I love this more. This is amazing. What a life. And by the 5th year, then it was the 6th year, and then it was the 7th year. And I look back and then it was the 17th year. So it's just one of those things that I didn't plan to get into, but I really truly believe coaching is the greatest job ever. It's one of the hardest jobs ever. It's the greatest job ever, though. So very grateful for that experience.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that. No, I felt the same way. I remember starting out as a young, right out of college, as a young teacher and coach, and going, "Gosh, I'm getting paid to do this." I can't believe it. Um, how was that? And again, you had a couple positions as you shared
Yep.
after graduation, but how was that coming back? I mean, you were still, fairly young. You're still
Yeah.
fairly young.
Oh, I
Uh,
was young. Yeah, it was.
but um, how was it with the players, with the staff? Was it a immediate fit? Were there any there's an expression we use in our profession, you don't know what you don't know. What did
Yeah.
you find out that you didn't know?
Immediate fit. Okay, I don't think I knew what I didn't know until about 10 years in, or 10 or 15 years in. Because in coaching and any job, right? Anything in life, just number of years and experience is your best education and training, bottom line. So once I really got experience in the profession, I look back at when I was in my year one, year two, year three, probably the first 5 years, and I think, oh my gosh, like the things I would think of, the things I would say, the actual X's and O's I was coaching, because that was a transition, actually learning the game and learning how to teach it rather than just, my first 5 years, I was probably just saying what was told to me all these years. And then I really had to figure out, okay, what is hitting? What does the swing look like? What do I believe in? Do I believe in what I was taught my whole life? So I didn't know what I didn't know until I got the experience and I looked back on it.
Um, now I was for spring sports, I was a track guy. I had a lot of friends who played baseball, but I was no good at it. Um, Now I hear the talking heads on sports talk, and I watch, College World Series for
Yep.
men and women too. Um, from your perspective as a player, to, somebody who's coached 20 plus years, um, the analytics, the
Mhm.
spin rate and the exit velocity. I mean, is
Yep.
that just, a bunch of nerd talk, or do you as a coach, do you apply it and hey, that's important stuff?
Yeah. It's very real. It's very powerful. It also can be a real deep, dark hole if you get too consumed with it. In my opinion, that's how I feel. Some people don't feel that way, but I feel that a lot of the information can be so beneficial for you to you, and it's crazy. Like the stuff we know now and what we know about spin rates and exit velocities and launch angles and all these metrics involved. Right. But if that consumes you so much where at the end of the day, you still got to get a kid to hit the ball. Right. And you got to get them to learn how to get from point A to point B. So that hasn't changed in the hundreds of years that the game has been played. I probably was there was times when I got probably too much into it, and then I had to reel myself back on it and just get back to like the X's and O's and coaching the game and the human component. So I think I was probably about 70% human component, 30% metrics. That probably was my style.
Now, again, for our listeners, you can look it up. Notre Dame had considerable success as a program while Lizzy was the coach, and continues to have it. Lizzy, can you look at, let's say, a season or an athlete? And again, this is me making you brag about yourself, where your coaching, really had an impact that you felt particularly proud of.
I felt proud that um all of the All-Americans we had in the program during my time was probably because of some component of my coaching that was touching them. Like my responsibilities were hitting and outfield. So for one reason or another, the reason of which they were getting success was, I think, because of the hitting skills I taught them or the outfield skills that I helped them, reach every single day. And I was really proud of that. And I'm just proud of the relationships I made with them as well. I mean, that's, them coming back to me. I got a note in the mail from a former player the other day just thanking me, for just being a great person to her. And she had graduated years ago. Just the random text you get. I mean, the amount of impact a coach has on an athlete, you don't realize how powerful it is until years later when they grow up and they realize, oh my gosh, this person had a, profound effect on me.
Oh, again, that's why we do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go in too much of a rabbit hole. My son just had his 34th birthday, and one of his former teammates, I got to coach both of them, back in high school, was in town for the get together. Hadn't seen him for, I don't know, 20 years, and just, hey, coach, you remember this, and coach, you remember that, and I remembered a couple of them, but no, I don't. I'm thinking to myself, no, I don't remember this, but it was
Yeah.
like it was yesterday for him. And oh, thank you, coach, thank you, coach. I'm not trying to brag, but I
Yeah.
know exactly what you're saying. That feeling,
Yeah.
that's why we do what we do. Okay.
Yep.
Um, boy, I already told Lizzy we have to get her back on the podcast later on, but
Mhm.
we're going to take another break. When we come back, she's going to share what she is doing now with a little organization called WeCOACH, one of our great partners here at the podcast. So let's take that break, but we are coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is one of those platforms that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, uploading scores and rosters, communicating with your stakeholders. How about your whole state? Um, how about student athlete eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't work on that every day? Home Campus does all of these things and a whole lot more. It does it better and it does them faster. To get started, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We want to thank the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. This is an affordable 20-month, totally online program where you not only complete your master's degree, you also complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses to go towards your CAA. You also become part of a nationwide network in athletic administration. To get started, just go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. And we'd like to thank our great friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? No more. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Lizzy, you shared with our listeners, your journey from Irvine, California to Notre Dame, both as a player and as a coach. But right now, you work with WeCOACH, one of our partners and a tremendous organization, resource, for coaches and for ADs. Um, Share with our listeners, what is WeCOACH? What are some of the things that you do, and how can they get more involved and benefit from all the great programs?
Mhm. So WeCOACH, we are a nonprofit organization and we support women in coaching. We cover all sports and all levels. And our whole purpose is really just to support, advance, and retain women in coaching of all sports at all levels. So what that looks like is a lot of virtual and in-person programming to help build a coach's toolbox that has nothing to do with the X's and O's of the game, but everything to do with all that off-field intangible stuff that a coach deals with every day, whether it's communication styles, leadership development, generational understanding, diversity inclusion training, value sessions, vision, mission, all kinds of stuff like that. And we really feel like if we could help build a woman coach's tool set and make it a big, nice, robust tool set, we have a greater shot of her staying in coaching for a longer period of time.
You mentioned earlier that you've been involved with WeCOACH for a long time as a coach, and now you work for the organization. Can you think back to, those days when you were coaching and some of the resources that you used from WeCOACH?
Yeah, so WeCOACH actually changed my life as a coach, and it really changed my trajectory. And I kind of pinch myself that I'm a part of the organization now because we have a program called the Women's Coaches Academy, and it's hosted by the NCAA, and it's in Denver every summer. And it's a 3-day, at that point it was 5 days, but it's a 3-day deep dive into you as a coach. I applied and was accepted and attended this academy back in 2010. And I was about 5 years into my coaching experience and had no clue what to expect, but just showed up to this academy, was, really looking to just, learn some stuff, take some notes, have some takeaways, and walked out of this experience completely mind blown. Super transformational experience, and walked away having a real understanding of what my values were as a coach, what my communication styles were as a coach, what my purpose was as a coach, and all kinds of other things. Just learned and kind of took it, like I referenced before, in my toolbox, and just wanted to put that into play right away. It really helped me grow just in so many ways off the field, as just a more whole person as a coach.
Now, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if somebody who's listening wanted to reach out
Yeah.
and pick your brain a little bit more, just as a coaching resource, or find out more about WeCOACH, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me. We have our, you can find information on our website, which is wecoachsports.org. We have all kinds of information there. We have 13 programs and events that we host. 3 of them are in person. So those would be something you attend in person. And then the other remaining 10 are all virtual programs, which we have video chats, we have a book club, we have a mentor program. We have a program called We Elevate, which caters to advancing in your career, so advancing levels in your career. We have a program called We Connect, which is just a bunch of coaches with getting in a room, a Zoom room with no agenda, and leaning on each other for support. We also have a program for aspiring coaches. So anybody out there who's maybe thinking, I might want to get into this profession, we're here to support you. And we have a whole community of coaches that will help you and help paint the picture of what life is like as a coach and prepare you to get involved in the profession. So all that information is available on our website, or people can reach out to me and feel free to share my information. I would love to talk WeCOACH with any individual. And while it's important to note this, while we support women in coaching, we have members of all, we have men, we have women, we have everybody. We are allies to everybody. We love anybody that wants to support our mission. We welcome all kinds of types within our organization.
No, I'm glad you mentioned the ally
Yeah.
component, because it is so very important. You also mentioned the mentoring. Share with our listeners on that particular resource. Again, they would reach
Yeah.
out to WeCOACH, but how is that going to work for someone who's saying, hey, maybe I could benefit from a mentor?
Yeah, I mean, I think that my feeling is every coach needs a coach, right? So even no matter what level you're at, if you've been a head coach for 30 years, I still think you need a coach to lean on, because it is such a taxing profession mentally, right? So our mentor program is really unique, where coaches get paired up in a trio of 3 different coaches. So you're going to have someone with a veteran level of leadership, someone with a moderate level, and somebody fairly new in the profession. And these 3 coaches just work together throughout the year. So once you apply for the mentor program and get in, it's not a one-time thing. It goes on all year long, and you work with your trio group all year and really build relationships and kind of lean on each other for this support. And we have all kinds of prompts and speakers, and we have, things we do along the way that kind of guide the process as well, but it just creates a network of support.
Yeah, again, I would say echo everything that you just
Yeah.
said. Every coach needs a coach. I love that. I'm stealing it, by the way. Uh,
Feel it. Yep.
Lizzy, this has just been so great, and we are going to definitely get you back. But we're not done yet. We always like to wrap up with something we call the athletic director toolbox. Now, you're not an AD, but you did mention you thought about becoming one. Who knows? That might still happen.
Yeah.
Um, but we're going to take our final break. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director or brand new leader on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 tools in their toolbox. So let's hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, we're going to see what Lizzy Ristano puts in her new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic directors already get feedback, but typically it's from a very small group, and all they want to do is complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And that information is incredibly valuable, especially when you're meeting with a frustrated parent maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Lizzy Ristano, the manager of leadership and strategic relationships at WeCOACH, also a longtime college softball coach, tremendous background. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new athletic director on the very first job, but I'm only going to let her put 3 things in the toolbox. So, Lizzy, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Yes, I love this question. So I have 3 things that really kind of have had a profound impact on my life that I wish that more people put these into play. It would make their job, enhance it in whatever way, make it better. So the number one thing I have is just to tell that athletic director to get to understand your people, not just know them. Everybody that works for you, there's a difference between knowing someone and understanding them. And when you realize that everybody that works for you operates a different way, and all the athletes that play for you operate in a different way. And that's a good thing. And when you can truly understand why they operate the way they do, that helps you appreciate them even more. So understand your people and not just know your people is number one. Um, the number two is, and this has really helped me, is the what's mine is yours mentality. You mentioned before, kind of like, I think I stole that from someone else. That was my entire coaching career. I mean, mine was just learning about what other people do, what other people taught, how coaches I looked up to, um, taught the game. And those that shared it with me the most and they were an open book helped me grow the most. So instead of protecting that information, taking that, hey, what's mine is yours and mentality, and go and learn from other people, the people that want to teach you. But then once you get that information, don't hold it in a box, share it with someone else, give it to somebody else, because you might be impacting somebody else's life, but that's what we're really all doing. We're just kind of, stealing and sharing information all along the way. And my final one is just to love what you do. If you really want to just take this job and be great in it, the key to being great in something is loving it. But the key to loving it is figuring out what your values are. So when you know what your values are, and then you can bring those values to your everyday, your job and what you do, and bring to them. So whether that's excellence or family or relationships or accountability, whatever those core values are for you, if you can make sure you're implementing those in your every single day work, that makes you love your job, because you love implementing what's special to you. And then it makes the job much more enjoyable. Of course, there's stuff we all have to do every day that might not be enjoyable, but if you can make it enjoyable along the way, I mean, that's the way we want to do it, right? But the key to that is loving it. So that's kind of like my 3 takeaways, I would say, my 3 major aha moments in coaching.
I love them all. Speaking about love, you and I already talked about that. Just what a great job, what a great profession we have with coaching. And what's mine is yours. This is what this is what I've found out in my career. Athletic directors can't wait to share. They can't wait to give away an idea. Coaches will tell you, like as a football coach, I'll tell you something. I'll say, well, this is the defense I run. I'm not going
Yeah,
to give you everything because you might come back and beat me with that, but I
yeah,
understand exactly what you're saying.
yeah.
What's mine is yours. I love it. Lizzy, this has been so cool. One more time, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain, and listeners, you got a tremendous resource here, or find out more about WeCOACH, how do they do that?
They could go to our website, which is wecoachsports.org. They can also find my information on there, and you could reach out to me, anybody, athletic directors, coaches. If you just want to talk professional growth and leadership development, if you want to talk coaching, if you want to talk the game, if you want to talk sports, please. That's my whole job at WeCOACH, is to connect with people and our members. So I would love to do that. I would love to get you involved in some of our programming. You can find all that information available on our website.
Absolutely. Make sure you do that. If you're not a member, sign up now and take advantage of all of the resources. You're going to be blown away when you go to their website and you see all the things that are available to you as a member. Lizzy, thanks again for sharing with our listeners. All the best. I know you got a busy summer and fall ahead of you, but we definitely need to get you back on to share on the Education Lady podcast.
I would love that. I would have me back anytime because this has been really enjoyable. So thank you, Jake.
Oh, well, thank you. We also want to say thanks to our listeners and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational Lady Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day, sharing stories and best practices. So we hope you come back for another episode of the Educational Lady Podcast. We'll see you next time.